Okay, this will be my review of the South Korean drama series Gu Family Book, or it's also known as Kang-chi or Kang-chi The Beginning. So right off the bat, I will be talking about spoilers. If you haven't seen all 24 episodes, don't listen to this review because I will be talking about spoilers. So there's my spoiler warning for this video. And I'm going to get right into it. So, as a whole, the series as a whole, just right off the bat, I did enjoy it. I thought it was very entertaining. I thought it was very fun, but I don't love it. I like it a lot, but I don't love it. I don't think it's great. I think it's good. I think it's entertaining, but it does have a lot of downfalls about it. A lot of setbacks in the series that really mainly has to do more with the writing more so than like the acting or the directing. So I guess I'll go ahead and talk about the ending first. I really enjoyed the ending a lot. I thought it was really interesting that they would end the series in that way. You know, we fast forward into the modern time and we see Kang-chi still alive. You know, thanks to his bloodline, he can survive for who knows how long. But I thought that was really cool that they did that. The only thing that I didn't like is how all the other characters are like reincarnated or reborn, and they're basically the same characters, but they don't, they're in modern times. I didn't really like that so much because it was just kind of history repeating itself, and they didn't really show all of the characters. Like, they showed a few of the characters, but they didn't show like they didn't show Tae-so. They didn't show like the head mistress. They didn't show the monk or Gon. Well, they showed Gon. They didn't show like Chung-Jo or any of the other characters. They just showed a few, and I was kind of disappointed with that. But I don't think that they should have directly had the characters like reincarnated as looking like exactly like their their past counterparts. I thought that was kind of forceful and a little bit lazy on the writing part, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was cool that they would, fast forward into the future and, just showing that Kang-chi will survive for a very long time. Some people were saying that they wanted, because I looked at other reviews, they want a sequel. I don't know if I want a sequel based on that, because it would just be kind of history repeating itself, and I'm not really interested in seeing that. So I think this series ended pretty well, and I don't know. I think they should just leave it up to the viewers to decide what happens to the character after this instead of doing a sequel. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the ending. Enjoyed it a lot. Didn't love it, but it was definitely an interesting way to end the series. Now, I did think that the first two episodes were really, really well done. It reminds me of the Beauty and the Beast. Not the Disney Beauty and the Beast, but the old TV show Beauty and the Beast. Except it has to deal with the nine-tailed fox. And, or a Gaminho, which, I like that a lot. I like the characters. I liked, Ryuk and Sehwa, and it's one of those love stories that ends in a tragic way, and I thought it was really enjoyable. But I thought it was really interesting that they would go ahead and go into the past first and talk about Kang-chi's parents in the first two episodes, and then fast forward to his life. I thought that was really well done, and I thought it was well executed. The thing I didn't like is how they brought the characters back. Especially that they changed the actress for Sehwa. Both of the actors who played the character, they were really good in the role. A very strong female character. But I don't know why they would go ahead and change the actress, because Sehwa is alive. She's saved by the Japanese. She's saved by the Japanese merchants, but I'm like, why would you change her look? And they didn't really explain why she looked different. They just said, oh well, she just kind of got older. And I would have preferred if they would have said, yeah, she just kind of changed her face somehow. Like the Japanese found a way to like do some type of like early version of like plastic surgery or something like that, you know, to change a person's face, and that's how she, you know, looks different. But yeah, I didn't really like how they brought her back, but it was okay. I enjoyed it, but I didn't like it. And when they brought his dad back, he comes back as like this vengeful 1,000-year-old demon. You know, he's not the same nine-tailed fox as he was, and he's like killing people. He's like absorbing their souls, and apparently he's like losing his memory. So he knows what happened in the past, but then he doesn't. I thought that was really lazy. I thought that he should have just been a villain. He should have came back as like a villain. He should have came back as evil, and he should have came back as his wanting revenge on Seiwa, and him and Kang-chi can have like this father versus son thing. And they did that for a while, but then they kind of cheapened it out, and he got his memory back, and then he just kind of dies again. Like, they don't explain a lot of things. Like, they should have went, instead of focusing too much on the love parts of the series, I think they should have went more into the more interesting aspects of the series, which is the mythical being part. Like, because they say mythical beings, like there's other ones. I wanted to see other mythical beings in the series, but they didn't really touch on that. They're just like, he's the only one, you know, he's the only nine tails in this series, I guess, and there are other like mythical beings that live around, and they don't really touch on that. I would have loved if they would have went into the mythology of the mythical beings much more, instead of focusing on the love story in this series. But yeah, that's something that I think that the writers did really a poor job on, as far as the characterizations for like Roryu. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. I probably am, because like I said, pretty bad at pronouncing Korean names. Just bear with me on that. The other characters, you know, I like the monk. I thought the monk was going to end up being the bad guy. I thought at the end he was going to be evil, because he kept talking about this whole, you know, he kept predicting like people's fate and stuff like that. And I thought he was doing that just to fuck with people, and he was going to end up being like the main big bad, but they didn't do that. But, you know, I liked his character a lot. The actor who played him did a good job. Gon, he ended up impressing me. I thought he was going to betray them as well and go to the bad side, due to the fact that he had a crush on Yeon, and you know, Yeon had a thing for Kang-chi, and I thought he was going to turn because of that to the bad side. The villain, Jo Gwan-wong, yeah, he was a really sinister villain, and the actor did a good job of playing him. He's kind of a one-note type of villain, unfortunately. Like, he's kind of a one-dimensional evil guy. Like, he just destroys everything in his path. But I did think it worked. But I would have preferred if they would have had like another evil mythical being that Kang-chi can fight, or something, you know, something interesting like that, like another type of demon or something that he would go up against. So yeah, I would have preferred that, but you know, maybe that's just me being a fan of like anime and stuff like that, and you know, wanting something much more mysterious or mythical as a enemy. But the whole theme is that he wants to become human. Like, Kang-chi wants to become human, and he's trying to find the Gu family book. And I guess the whole idea is that human beings could be far more sinister and far more animalistic, and just because you're like a mythical being, that doesn't mean that you're any less of a human being than anyone else is. So I like the contrast that they were doing with that, with the hero and the villain. Now let's talk about the love interest of Kang-chi. We have Chung-jo and we have Yeon. Yeon's character is kind of a damsel in distress with the sword. She can fight, but they kept making her like her only character trait was that she loved Kang-chi, and I was really disappointed in that because they could have done something much more interesting with her. I mean, besides the fact that she loved Kang-chi because he kind of saved her when they were little. Other than that, I kind of felt like she was on one note. Like she lived because she loved Kang-chi. And I know a lot of people don't really like idols acting in drama series because, let's face facts, some of them aren't really good at acting. But I think Suzy did a good job in the role. She did. There are some points, there are some quirks that annoyed me, like some points where she was kind of lazy with the acting, but there were some points where she was really good in the role, and I enjoyed her character, but I don't love her character. I actually think that Chun-Jo was far more interesting. Lee Yoo-Bi is a really good actress in here. She almost outacted everyone in this series, like because her character started off so interesting. They were doing so many interesting things with her, but then she just becomes like jealous of the relationship between Yeon and Kang-chi, and I really didn't like what they did with her character. She was forced to become like basically a whore, and after that, I kind of felt like her character, like the writers really didn't know what to do with her character, so they just kind of made her jealous and whatnot. She was kind of like a younger version of Seiwa, and I don't know, it was working, but then again, it didn't work. So I don't know. That I thought that the acting was good. Like I said, Lee Yoo-Bi did a good job with what she was giving, but the writers kind of hand-fisted her character, and I was really disappointed what they did with her. But all the other characters in here, the acting for the most part is really good. Lee Seung-Gi is really fun to watch. Like, I like him a lot. He was really good in The King Two Hearts, which is like one of my favorite Korean dramas of all time. And I think he did a better job in that series. But in here, he's enjoyable, and he definitely brings his A game as far as acting goes. And I like his character a lot in here. Very relatable. Definitely somebody that you can identify with right off the bat. But yeah, the acting in here is really top notch, and the characters are really fun. It's just that some of them were not really written well as the series went on. The directing is pretty good, but there were some points where the characters would be staring at each other, especially like they would have like these cliffhangers, and the characters would just stare for like a good 2 to 3 minutes, and they would just stare at each other, and I'm like, say something, do something. I think the directing was bad in that area because it kind of dragged on, and there would be some scenes where they would drag on, and then the music would be playing in the background. I kind of felt like it dragged on for too much, and it kind of annoyed me. It was kind of annoying, but I can deal with it. But like, if I rewatch it again, I'm really kind of gonna want to fast forward some of those scenes and kind of get to the point. So yeah, I think the pacing is okay. It's not great, but the pacing, yeah, the scenes where the characters are just kind of staring at each other, that really messes up with the pacing in the series. The OST in here was really well done. I was really impressed with the OST. It really matches well with the theme of this show, and especially the emotional moments where characters are crying and feeling down about themselves. I really thought that they did a good job with that. Trying to think of, is there anything else that I want to talk about as far as the series goes. I don't like, how the villain was dealt with. Ju-Gwan Wong. He kind of gets off easily, and I don't like how the writers were trying to make us sympathize with him, because Chun-Jo basically comes to him in his cell once he's been captured and whatnot, and he's like, I really was trying to make myself feel alive. And I'm like, you made all these people suffer because you wanted to feel alive? Kind of a weak motivation. Very, very weak motivation for a villain. Like I said, he's kind of a one note type of a villain, and yeah, he was poisoned at the end, but that's still too easy of a death for him, especially for all the stuff and all the people he killed in Kang-chi and the other characters' lives. And he killed Kang-Chi's, or his men, his second in command had a hand in killing, his lover. And I'm like, I felt like he should have been shot or like killed. I don't like how they made Kang-Chi like this moralistic character. I don't mind the fact that he doesn't kill sometimes, but I think it would have been justified if Kang-Chi would have killed Gwang Wong. That would have been totally justifiable, but they tried to give him too much of the moral, this pacifist type of thing with his character, and I was really disappointed with that. If it were me, if I were writing, I would have just had him, Kang-Chi, just kill him. That would have been a proper way to do it, and I would have given him a much more violent death than that. But as it is, it's okay. It's just kind of bothersome that they would do it in that way. The whole thing with history kind of repeating itself was kind of a little annoying. Like I said, I don't know. It's bothersome. And I think that they should have just done something different with the whole history repeating itself. I think they could have came up with something a little bit more unique than doing that. Like I said, they could have touched on a little bit more things with the mythology and stuff like that. Oh, I want to talk about the fighting in here too. Like the action in here is okay. There would be points where the camera, they would do like these speed up camera tricks to kind of make it seem like the characters are moving really fast. But I don't think that the fighting choreography was really well done in here. It could have been much better. But for the budget, I guess, that they're giving, it was okay. But I think they should have got a better fighting choreographer for the action scenes. I mean, there was one episode where it was really good, but for the most part, it was kind of sloppy and poorly done, in my personal opinion. The special effects are really well done in here, for a TV show. But, it could have been better. So overall, I enjoyed this series. Like I said, I would recommend it. But it does have its downfalls that I think make it go from, it starts out really great and it just kind of goes from that to like, okay. So yeah, I'll give this series like a solid B-, B+ at the most. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think the writing is what really, and some of the directing is what really brought the series down. So yeah, I'll leave the video off here. You guys tell me what you thought about this series, and I am out. Peace.